All right, finishing touches, part one. I'm going to do this in 2 videos here. I've just dropped in all of my text. I have started to massage a couple things, added my ads, still working with the same content, paragraph styles, everything we created. I don't have a color palette created. That should have been one of the first things that I created, because you can see clearly I've been using some. So in my earlier demos, I actually created one. I'm going to use this particular image to identify a color palette. And you can see here that I've got a bunch of things created, but let's go ahead, grab the eyedropper, go into the color theme section of that and click in. Find a hero image, find an image in your layout that can actually define your color palette. And by simply clicking on that color palette, right away, it's going to give me the colorful, bright, and maybe there's something here that works, and I can add that to my color palette, and there it is. If I hold down my shift and my option key and then click, and let's grab something bright, this time when I look at it, it's going to give me color themes that we're familiar with based on our color theory exercises and lessons. So an analogous, a monochromatic, a triad, a complementary. And these are, and I think I'm going to actually try work with the analogous workflow. And in combination, you know what, I might pull up the complementary, because I do like the blues that is in that one as well. Let's see if it gave it to me. And there's the analogous. Let's add that one as well. There we go. And this teal in particular is an interesting color in combination with this section. So now I have a color palette to work with. There's a couple things that I just want to kind of talk to. Not sure how familiar you are with InDesign and some of these features. Let me go ahead and get rid of a couple extra text boxes here. I've just been playing around. I do have a little bit of an issue with contrast. I'm laying text over an image. We know that is not ideal when we're talking about accessibility and designing for accessibility. So, but with that, if I can help it pop, it will be better. It is going to stay as live text. So in theory, the readers should be able to pick this up. So let's have a look at what we can do with this text and adding maybe an effect, a little bit of a drop shadow perhaps. So when you go into your effects, you'll notice straight away that you have the object, the stroke, the fill, the text. We want to actually edit, and I'm going to add a drop shadow, and it will open up the dialog box. Now, settings for object, and if I apply a drop shadow, and let me notice here that I have my text and it's adding it to the text, but I just want it to be just the text. There's my drop shadow on just the text and not on the object. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to adjust my offsets, and I'm going to adjust the span. And let's go ahead and just make sure that, let's take it off of the object and just put it on the text. There we go. So you can see how it's softening. I really want this to be, I'm going to add a little bit of noise, like 3% of noise, and it's just going to add and make it that a little bit softer. That distance, if I tighten it up a little bit, it's going to be a little bit harder. It is going to multiply back. I can change the opacity. I just want this thing to pop a little bit. So maybe my offsets are a little bit too big. There we go. So I just want it to be subtle enough that it's going to create, and that is great. So if I actually add and I can create an object style for drop shadow. And if I look at the effects here, it's going to be, so I can get rid of everything else because I don't want it to pick up if I'm just trying to apply the same shadow to text. I just want to create a drop shadow that is picking up the features that I've just set. And I'm going to create, and I believe we changed that to 2 and we added a little bit of noise. And it is going to be just to the text. And you can see that's picked up. Let me check the object here and deselect that. And so I'm just making sure that the text is getting everything. That is great. I will go ahead and apply that. And if I want to do that here, don't need it when it's not, but let's have a look at this large one. Just a little bit of a pop. Do you see? It's not much. If I take it off to adding it on. Really super subtle, but just enough of a pop. And again here, because I'm overlaying it on images, it's just going to give it a slight definition. I don't want to overdo it. Definitely want to watch that offset, right? As a rule, students often make the error of making the offset too big. So if I'm looking at this, I'm going to highlight my second line. I'm just going to tighten up that leading a little bit as well. And that just really helps it pop. You'll notice here, based on our previous video, I adjusted this text flow a little bit just to help with readability and making it fit a little bit better. And so I've got some nice consistency with layout and flow. I added a bleed here. That way I could align the title treatment on my margin, which added a nice feature. One more, since we're talking about object styles. Currently, we are justifying text here. You'll notice that our hyphens and our periods, our commas, are inside the margin, and it gives it a very uneven, ragged feel for justified text. So an ideal scenario, what we're going to do here is we're going to create another object. Let's go to our selection tool, select that text box, hold our Option or Alt, click on the plus symbol, and this time I'm going to call it text box. OM for optical margin. And I'm going to deselect everything in this text box, or in this frame here, just to make sure nothing is selected, because again, if there's anything there, that's what will get applied. Now let's go down to story options, turn that on, turn on optical alignment. And right now I'm set for 12. I'm going to say okay, and I'm going to apply that to my picture box. And you'll see that it now sits outside. It's got a slight gap, and I could probably adjust that even more a little bit by going back in and popping that up to 14. And that will definitely push my text outside, or pardon me, my punctuation outside of my margins. And that just gives me better framing for, so my justification overall optically looks a little bit better. This is an optical adjustment. The other thing I want to look at the drop cap here. I ended up changing this just to match the typeface for our subheads, which made perfect sense instead of trying to add another serif or an italic. Select your text, because when you're looking at framing a drop cap, you should be looking at equal spacing all around this. And I'm just going to select it. I'm going to hold my Option and then my right arrow, and I'm going to track that out a little bit just to give myself a little more space. And that's going to give me a better feel for my drop cap. All right. So I've got a little bit of an issue with a text image kind of going up. And I'm just going to cheat and add some, do some editing there. Actually, you know what? Let's see if we can bring that back, and let's see if we can actually, since we have this orphan that's going up on the next column, let's see if we can fix this. Now our optical alignment pushed that out. Plus minus 10 is what we're looking for tracking here. And if I put it up to plus, that's going to push it out. But what if I do -10? Now -10, I don't even need to go that far. I'm going to go option. Remember we adjusted the preferences to 1? So if I go down, I'm going to see, there it is right there. At -2, that word comes down. I don't need to edit. I don't need to delete. I have now adjusted and fixed that orphan that ended up in the wrong column. I can do the same thing here, but you know what? I want to actually push this out, because notice that I'm a little bit long or a little bit short on this one paragraph. So let's do the same thing, but let's go the other way this time. And I'm going to push this out to 10. And it gives me that extra line. And because I've got 2 lines of headers here, that's why I'm looking at that extra bit. It's looking a little bit more balanced. And as I flow through, this is me looking at my last elements here that I'm just doing. I'm going to select. And I'm seeing if I can push this up, because I don't want to push it down. I'm right at the end. And at -10, I can't do it. -10, 11, 12. 12, 13, got it. That's a little too tight, actually, for my liking. So I'm going to take that back to 0. And so creative editing can happen here, or you can look at trying to see if, in fact, can you get another line in this column? Because if you can, let's push it out to 10. Ideal is half. Ideal is 2/3. Half is acceptable. This is a little bit short, but because it's a subhead, it's acceptable. We'll make that work. Okay. Everything looks good. Let's go back in, and the next video, what I want to show you is setting up some last-minute grep styles to manage runs. Now, I don't have a lot of them in here, so we're not going to see a lot of movement by adjusting them, but I do want to give you a video strictly on grep expressions and how to understand them and kind of manage them a little bit. So I hope this is helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.